Hey everyone, welcome to the PFF Betting Podcast. I am your host, Kendall Valenzuela, joined by PFF Senior Data Scientist, Ben Brown. We're going to be breaking down some NFL win totals today. We're going to continue what we did last week. And then, special treat from Ben Brown, we are doing the Betting Market Implied 2022 NFL Mock Draft. So let's get into it. We're back. We're not sick. You know, that's kind of nice. We're not going to mess anything up this time. We're not sick. It's it's nice. And you're in a kind of slow period.
It's a little bit of a slow period. I don't know if it's a lull, I guess, but we escaped free agency for the most part, I guess. And we are, still a few weeks out from the NFL draft. So it's full on research and development season, I would say, in my home office right now, I guess. So I'll take it. I enjoy a little bit of that sort of grind, and it's been enjoyable sweating out the Masters a little bit. I know MLB started as well, so we got some futures bets from Kendall and the listeners. I think that I'm already expecting to win on, so it's been a great week so far, I would say. So
I know it's so funny when people think about you, they're like, oh, Ben Brown just betting, but you do so much more. Like that's the best part, but you do so much more like in the trenches, like data stuff for PFF.
Yeah, I definitely feel in the trenches right now, but we're, obviously trying to improve on, a lot of our consumer products, specifically, like the tools that we put up on the site. I know, Eric's obviously had a big hand in a lot of those. I put in some time on some of those. And I do think that, heading into the 2022 season, we are, hopefully going to accomplish a lot of our goals from that end. And I do think it's going to make PFF probably, the best betting destination for NFL and college football, say. So it's good.
Even though it already is.
And even though it already is, right? We're always, but that's the thing I would say about like with betting and everything, like you kind of always do need to be evolving your process, like checking things, especially in the off season. Because I think if you put out the exact same model for 2 years in a row, like the market is probably already caught up to it, I would say, especially if it's a public facing model. So we're always trying to look for tweaks and things, especially, with NFL and NCAA green line and those sorts of things. Obviously both were successful last year, but I do think, simply resting on that is just not something that's going to keep you ahead of the market. So looking to improve on all of that, I would say quite a bit here for 2022, especially. So
follow along with us, folks, because you're going to want, but NFL greenline did great. And I think college did even better
college was was where it was at last year. Really pleased with it overall. And there are still a lot of things that we, I think can definitely improve upon. And I think we're going to. So I think, obviously get on board because the subscription is probably too cheap based on the offerings right now, I would say for sure.
Exactly. And it's mock draft season. I think you can't lose. We were just talking about that. You really can't. And it gets me too, because whenever I see mock draft, I just automatically click it. It's so interesting to see how different everyone is, but everyone, PFF.com, and right now PFF.com/betting too. You put out the Betting Market Implied 2022 NFL mock draft. So first of all, I just need you to break it down. Explain it like I'm five, just break it down. But it is super interesting. Betting, what to you, the Betting Market Implied mock draft? How did you go about it before we even dive into it?
Yeah, so this whole idea of market implied rankings and rankings, I do think is a really interesting conversation or topic idea or something. But basically, if you're looking at ranking systems, whether it's like Elo, Massey, like Pythagorean win theorem, those sorts of things, they're all taking into account how a team actually performed in that given game. They're using, like the home score minus the away score plus the away score and all these other things in order to derive how well each team actually performed in that particular matchup. What you can do instead of maybe taking those sorts of things, you can take in what the betting market expectation is. And I do think that's probably the most efficient way of actually power ranking or handicapping these teams. And you would say, if you did like an Elo market implied power ranking, you basically take or Massey basically would be the approach. The Massey formula would basically be, home score minus away score for all these team matchups, how well did they perform. Instead of using the home score and away score, you can use, the spread and total and those sorts of things. And that gives you kind of the betting market assessment for how they rank those teams. So it's almost kind of reverse engineering, what the betting market is putting out there. And I like that quite a bit because I do think it's probably the most accurate way to power rank teams either in the season or outside of the season. And you can extend that to a lot of different ways. Of course, we can't do it as well with, like the mock draft, NFL draft props and those sorts of things, but you can kind of, work through this idea of reverse engineering every single pick based on the way that the betting market is pricing it out. And that's kind of how basically the exact way that we kind of arrived at this market implied NFL mock draft is basically reverse engineering, the odds that we have available from like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, all the legal sports books, and then figuring out who's going to be, the most likely selection given those odds. And that's, kind of what we arrived at. And I do think it's the most accurate way, I would say, to build a mock draft right now. So, I
mean, yeah, after that explanation, I'm probably going to pick every single thing that you put on this mock draft and probably just bet it.
Yeah.
Because how you just described it is crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and it's also, and this, the mock draft is obviously a much less, efficient way of doing it, or, even like a much less methodical way of doing it. It's a lot more, you're looking at things and those sorts of things, but there's going to be some mistakes, but I do think, from getting from pick 1 to pick 32, it's definitely the easiest way and the most accurate way to do it. And, we're going to have a lot of misses in there, but there's definitely going to be some things that the market is correct on for sure. So
I really, and this is not just me being a homer for you and PFF, but I really have not seen that a lot elsewhere. This was the first one, like full, because you went 1 to 32, you did the full first round. So, and this was one of the first ones that I've seen at least this season come out like that. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it is the only way that, we did do the mock draft last year, but we were the only people that have kind of done it. I do know, some places like InPredict, who is, really focused on NBA from a data science perspective, also does these like market implied power rankings for NFL teams. That was something that, Eric Eager and I kind of like first did 3 or 4 years ago using that methodology. So that is kind of getting out there, but at least the mock draft, NFL draft prop, part of it is, we are, I think for PFF is the only one, and definitely the originators of it, I would say, which is,
PFF.com/betting. You guys have to go back. So just before we get into it, how often are you going to change this? Because I know in a couple podcasts ago, you said, the NFL draft market probably is set for a little while because we're about 3 weeks out. So I don't see how much it could change from here till now. So are you going to do an updated one closer to the draft, or is this kind of what you have set until we get there?
I think we should do 1 week of the draft. I'll definitely pitch that to Austin as well. But I think the main thing that's going to change now is just a specific player over under draft position, right? We have some of those in the market, but I do think we're still gonna, those are the spots that are probably gonna trickle in more, and that's gonna make the back half of the first round a lot more accurate and a lot more efficient in that market. Because I do feel really good about how like the top 10 shaped out with this particular market implied mock draft, but like 15 through 32, there just isn't enough, market information right now to make it probably as accurate as it needs to be. So we'll definitely take that into account, take the, the specific player totals into account. And I do think that's going to be hopefully the most accurate mock draft put out there from any one singular source then. So
Love it.
That's the goal.
Well,
at least.
That's the goal. Well, I feel like that's always your guys' goal. But let's go through then the top 10, because you said you really liked how the first 10 shaped out. So we'll start with number 1, and you had Jacksonville Jaguars, and it's kind of just a little bit of chalk. It's what everyone's thinking is going to happen, and it's Aiden Hutchinson going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm on DraftKings right now just to make sure we have the most accurate, and he is minus 280 to be the number 1 draft pick, which is kind of in line with this article.
Yeah. Basically, he hasn't moved a whole lot. I think he was even higher at other stretches, but he definitely hasn't separated. Maybe that's because at least as specific edge rusher prospects, he maybe doesn't have the ceiling type of outcomes that players in past drafts have had, for instance, like Myles Garrett going number 1 overall, maybe even Joey Bosa. But I think for this particular draft, given the current state of it, Aiden Hutchinson just makes way too much sense to go number 1 overall. So I think, there's not really any value in betting it right now, but it's definitely going to be the way that this one actually plays out come April 28th. So I
agree. And we've been doing those Hutch podcasts. So the Hutch podcast is coming out. Mark your calendars. I think it's coming out next week, and it should be, it's a really cool project that those guys, Austin, Solfaro, worked on. So it's really cool, but I think the consensus is he is the number 1 pick. And if that didn't happen, it would be a little bit of a shock, I think, to us. But number 2 for you, Detroit Lions, they're going with, in your mock, Trayvon Walker from Georgia. And this is interesting because the rumors flying around that this could be a quarterback, that this could be Malik Willis, is interesting there too. But for Trayvon Walker to go number 2 to the Detroit Lions, he right now is plus 250, which I think is incredible value from what you've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy that how quickly he has risen up the draft board. Obviously he's been the biggest mover since kind of like the combine and these pro days kind of started trickling in, but him moving all the way up, I would say is pretty dramatic. Basically the same exact odds as Aiden Hutchinson to go number 2 overall. It just makes, a lot of sense. I did write up Kayvon Thibodeau to go number 2 overall in my article that dropped late last week. He was at plus 1,200 at that point. He's moved all the way up to plus 400. So I think there's obviously a little bit of competition for this number 2 overall pick. Does seem like the Lions are going to go with an edge rusher, but Malik Willis as well as, the 4th most likely option here at plus 450. And that one makes a lot of sense as well. So even starting off, the 2nd overall pick, it could be pretty chaotic here, but right now, Trayvon Walker, that's the direction that the betting market is leaning. I think if I was betting on it, I would probably go in a different direction, but given that this is the market implied mock draft, I got to go with Trayvon Walker at 2. So
yeah, you gotta go with your gut.
Stick with it. So,
gotta stick with it. All right, number 3, Houston Texans, Ike Ekwonu from NC State. I think right now too he is plus 180. That's exactly what you have in your article too, to go 3rd overall. Obviously the favorite there. You like him, and you also like you like other draft props for him too. If you don't necessarily want to bet him going 3, you have him going elsewhere too.
Yeah, I mean, minus 140, it does seem like he's probably separated a little bit in the offensive lineman market. I don't know if I really necessarily agree with that. I've kind of been an Evan Neal guy throughout the whole process. Him not working out has obviously, influenced his stock a little bit. But it seems like, at least the betting market is pointing in all indications for Icky to go at least 3rd overall. It is probably going to be, it looks like an offensive lineman if it's not going to be a quarterback here to the Houston Texans. So I think Neal or Ekwonu, but yeah, it's the market is pricing in Ekwonu. So maybe lean in that direction. But if I was, betting on it, I'd probably look more so for a guy like Malik Willis or something to go number 3 overall. I know we've talked about that one a little bit previously. Hasn't moved a ton yet, but I think the Texans are going to leave this first round with a quarterback at either 3 or 12. So we'll see what happens. So
Malik Willis right now, according to DraftKings, is plus 1,500.
There we go. It's not a bad payout. Not a bad payout. Maybe a sprinkle on it or something.
Maybe a sprinkle. Maybe I'm going to do it right now as we're talking through this. I like that one. And then number 4 for the New York Jets, you've got Thibodeau. This is where you have him going, which, Ben, is just to me, it's so fun to have watched from the start of the college season to now, because he was the guy. He was the favorite. There was no question during the season that was his place. And now he's moved all the way back there. You have him going to the New York Jets. Going at 4th, he's plus 250 right now.
Yep. So, I mean, he's, I think, probably the most talented player in the draft, I would say. Maybe in conversation for number 2 overall, it sounds like still. But, we have him at, top 5 pick minus 115. So definitely think he's going to go within the first 5 picks. And I think he's too talented to fall outside of that. Has, obviously been knocked for some, maybe off the field concerns or whatever you want to say, as far as like his, love of the game or whatever people drum up at this point in time. But I like him quite a bit. I wrote him up to go number 2 overall. Like I said, at like plus 1,200, he's moved up too much, I would say, to bet that now at plus 400, but him to go in the top 5, I think is a pretty safe bet at minus 115. So lock it in, Jets. Here we go.
Lock it in. I will say, like Austin, we have great PFF college football analysts, right? We've got some of the best. And between Trevor Sikkema and Austin Gale and then Connor Rogers, they're like, don't listen to anything about his work ethic or anything like that. I mean, I think Connor Rogers had him going, if he doesn't go number 1, which we don't think he's going to, we think Aiden's a lock there. He's like, I think he's going to go number 2 because he's so talented. And for people to believe that he doesn't have a work ethic is just,
it's just what peak draft season, right?
It's so gross. It's what we're going to be saying in July. Like when some people put out that, Jamar Chase wasn't going to be that good because of his drops in the preseason. And we're like, oh my God,
Here we go again.
It's gross. It's gross. So I will just say that don't listen to any of that, especially when we're listening to Trevor and Austin and all those guys. I'll believe them 1,000%.
Right.
So, all right. New York Giants, number 5, your guy.
My guy, Evan Neal.
Evan Neal.
So he's, he's his draft prop 3.5 minus 165 to the over. So it does seem like he's going to end up at, pick 4, pick 5 here. Giants need some help along the offensive line. I do think Evan Neal, better pass blocker than Icky, especially right now. He is minus 275 to be a top 5 pick. So I think, he's going to go here. He's super talented. I personally think he should be the number 1 offensive lineman off the board. Still, I think he's like plus 120, plus 130 right now in that market. So maybe that's the direction you want to go with him. But I like him to land in the top 5 quite a bit. So let's see it happen, Evan Neal. So
yeah, I like you. And you've liked him for a while. You've liked him for a while, so you're not changing up on it. That's
for sure. I think Eric got me just way too involved at like plus 1,000, and now I've just been riding it out ever since, I would say. For him to be the first overall pick when that was like the only market available, Eric wrote that one up, and it looked good for a while, but now that they've kind of settled on Aiden Hutchinson, things have backfired, I would say, a little bit. But I still think Evan Neal is probably, should be and will be the best offensive lineman out of this class, is my personal opinion. So.
Especially at plus 120. I do like that for him to be the first one overall, first offensive lineman taken. So I do like that one a lot. This one's breaking my heart a little bit, but you have the Carolina Panthers taking Malik Willis at 6. And I think he's now minus 200 to be the first quarterback taken. So the value there is pretty much gone, but you do like him going to the Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Panthers are basically, I think, the highest odds to select either Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. So don't really have a ton of other opportunities in the draft to select a quarterback. So I think Malik Willis in the top 10 makes a lot of sense. I do think he could still go higher than this, maybe even to the Lions at 2 or the Texans at 3. But if he doesn't, 6 is, I would say, close to his floor right now. So lock it in. Panthers need to do something at quarterback. And this is really their only opportunity. So yeah.
I'm looking first quarterback selected. This is again off DraftKings. Malik Willis is minus 170, Kenny Pickett plus 140. And then it's plus 2,500 for everyone else. So I agree with you on that one. So let's go New York Giants. You like Sauce, our own from Cincinnati, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, to go number 7, New York Giants. And that's from Chicago.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the one.
That's the one. I still think, even with Derek Stinley's, pro day timing and workout this week, I do still think Sauce is going to be the first cornerback off the board. I like both of them to go in the top 10. It does seem like Gardner's basically a lock at this point, given what Stingley did on his draft day. Should probably be landing in the top 10 as well. This was, of course, done, before that pro day on Wednesday. But I think both these guys really talented cornerbacks. I do think there's going to be, a little bit of a run on the cornerback market here in the first round of the NFL draft. So it starts with Gardner, doesn't end with him though. That's for sure.
Starts with Sauce. He's been so fun. Again, I think I said this last week. I am so excited to see him in the league because when he joined Richard Sherman, he had such a great interview and he just it is peak draft season because now he's like pinned a tweet on his Twitter account that's like, I am the best player in the draft.
There we go.
So I'm just so excited. I'm so excited just to see him and just for the draft to come. We are in such a weird lull period that it's like, We need it so bad, but let's go. We got three more. So at number 8, Atlanta Falcons. You like Charles Cross from Mississippi State. He has his draft position prop when you wrote this is 7.5 with the over at -135.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know where, I don't see it right now, to be honest with you.
I was looking too, so I was hoping you found it because I was trying not to just look on my phone the whole time. I also don't.
Yeah, he's still at 7. He's still at 7.5. I think he's at -145 for the over now. So does make a lot of sense for him to probably land at picks 8 or 9, given the price on that particular number. Third best tackle in the class, I would say, was getting some hype as being, better than Evan Neal or Icky. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but I do think it is a strong tackle market. And I do think we're going to see him go in the top 10. So Atlanta, I don't know necessarily what they're doing, but maybe they want to lock in a tackle, even though they don't really have anybody else at any particular position outside of tight end. But we'll see. So Falcons, I guess they're going to do something at 8. Why not go with a tackle? So.
I don't even know if the Falcons know what they're doing.
Right.
Just in general.
Right.
Man. And we can talk about that with the win totals. But I was looking at that. I was like, they actually have the opportunity to be the worst team.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, I like Marcus Mariota, right? So it's hard for me to say that, but like outside of Mariota, it's like, man, this could be really bad. It's really bad. So I don't know. And like, I was kind of an Arthur Smith believer as well when he left Tennessee and went to Atlanta. But it could be ugly for him these next 2 years. And then what, right? Then he's been there 3 years, hasn't really done anything. Is he going to get fired or not? I don't know, but it's turned over and it's, only going worse, I would say, before it's going to get better.
Yeah. So. It's pivotal. We're in the pivotal point here where you're like, they're under a microscope. They're under a microscope over there. So, all right, tell me number 9, Seattle Seahawks. That's obviously from Denver. You have them taking Jermaine Johnson from Florida State.
Yeah, I think this is like probably my least favorite pick, I would say, overall.
I'm hoping because I swear to God, Ben,
he's up to -170 now. So it has moved even a little bit more, but for some reason he is getting a lot of hype as, a top 10 selection. I don't necessarily see it. So maybe it makes sense that Seattle will select him, but this would probably be my least favorite selection in the top 10 for sure. And I don't know, it's maybe just a little bit of an overstep. Maybe a different edge rusher drops. Doesn't really necessarily think it's going to be the case, but I don't know. I think this is the landing spot for like Derek Stingley or something now is kind of my correct approach. But who do you like for Seattle? That's the real question. You're tuned in. So.
I did like Malik. Yeah. But that's just me like betting and thinking with my heart there because it's going to be so painful. And I know that I've come to terms with they are in a transition period now, but it's just going to be so tough only because I covered Drew Lock in Denver and I'm happy that he has a new shot somewhere else. But man, I just wish it wasn't with my team because we've talked to, there are Drew Lock apologists and Drew Lock is fine, but I do like the idea of them potentially getting ready to start their future with drafting a Malik Willis, so that is what I would like, but realistically, are they going to do that? Probably not.
So, I don't know what Pete Carroll's going to do. This is that's probably the toughest spot in the top 10 to project right now. So we'll see, but it's definitely an inflection point. So I'm excited. For sure.
I'm interested to see what happens with Baker. That's an interesting situation to monitor right now too, because no one wants to take Baker? On. Yeah. No, well, you don't want him for what does he have right now? 18 million coming up. Yeah. So it's just, not really, but with the alternate, I don't know. It's just such a tough conversation to have because if they are in a rebuild, do you want Baker? Right. Do you want Baker Mayfield? Because that's such a weird, I don't know.
Maybe you do want Drew Lock in a rebuild because that locks in the number 1 overall pick next year or something like that, right?
Top 5, no doubt. Just painful.
Painful.
All right, we'll close it out with the New York Jets, and that's from Seattle, and love this one a lot. You have wide receiver Garrett Wilson from Ohio State heading to the Jets.
Yep. They got to put some weapons around Zach Wilson. Yeah. I think, obviously, if they go defense early at number 4, this is definitely the spot to take a wide receiver. So, I think Garrett Wilson, first wide receiver off the board, definitely makes sense. Not a spot that I'm personally betting, but definitely the most likely scenario. So him landing in the top 10, he actually has moved down a little bit, I think, from like -125 down to -115. Derek Stingley, moving up basically. Maybe some people project him to be here at 10. I do think he's more likely to go at 9 to Seattle, but we'll see how that one shakes out. So these three, maybe a little bit of a juggle after the Derek Stingley Pro Day, but I think they're still all these make a lot of sense right now, I would say. So.
Yeah. And Drake, I think Drake London too. I think I saw one of them where he was also plus. No, he might. I think he's the favorite actually. So don't mind me.
So Drake, so it's actually plus 125, plus 125. Yeah. So Drake London's plus 125, Garrett Wilson's plus 125. You are right. So yeah, basically co-favorites right now to be the number one wide receiver. So I don't know. I'm still rolling the dice with Jameson Williams. He's got the upside. I covet basically, especially at the wide receiver position. I do think he's a game breaker. So maybe if there's a little bit of a lull, maybe if one of these guys doesn't go in the top 10, I could see, team like Washington at 11 or, even like 13 or something like that, potentially get in on the wide receiver action. I do think that's where Jameson Williams could make some sense. Yeah. So we'll see. Derek Stingley. I mean, to me, he's in the top 10. Yeah, because you have him right now. PFF.com/betting. You guys can read this article, but you have him going to the Vikings in this article. I just think that might be. Because he was plus 140 to be a top 10 pick when we wrote this article on Monday. Now he's minus 120. So things have definitely changed, I would say, quite a bit. So
nice. I love it. I'm just so excited for the draft. It's
my favorite time of year.
We think we know what's gonna happen, and then you get to that day and you're like, it's just pure chaos.
And then there's one trade, and everything just goes.
Everything blows up.
So,
everything blows up. Tell me, we'll get into the team win totals really fast. Tell me your MLB futures.
I mean, so my guy Judah Fort Gang put me on a couple. Ooh. I do like, Kyle Schwarber, I think, to lead the league in home runs. He got me on. I think he got me on Chicago White Sox as well, which I don't know if I feel great about that one, but I was telling you, I got like limited on FanDuel on my Kyle Schwarber bet. So that was not good. And I've kind of been limited ever since, trying to get some college basketball bets done on them as well. So I don't know, something broke with the algorithm, bet NFL and college football relatively, I was limited a little bit on some props and stuff like that, but it wasn't anything drastic. But yeah, tried to bet some Kyle Schwarber home run props, got limited on FanDuel, and now I can't really bet anything. So it's tough day. I'm losing my book outs here. We'll see what I have coming in the preseason, but I'm starting to get nervous, I guess. So
yeah. Folks, he's won too much.
I don't know about that, but it's for something broke with it.
That is weird.
Yeah, and I know like people put out like tweets or whatever, and I do think like they're limiting algorithm does it on like really long shot odds. It seems to be, like the plus 3,000s or 30 to 1 shots and those sorts of things, 25 to 1. So I think that's where people usually get limited. It's more so based on the win payout as opposed to what you're actually betting. Yeah. But it's interesting, I would say. So we'll see. But yeah, I have money on Circa. Obviously, I do really like them as a sports book. I just wish they had more offerings available, but they're obviously cater to sharp sports bettors and aren't limiting people or taking the highest limits as well. So definitely like them quite a bit. But there's opportunities. It's nice being in a legalized market where you have 12 plus books or something.
Yeah, it must be nice. Is Circa the one with the like really, really cool pool in Vegas?
So so Stadium Swim is like, it's on
but
Circa there.
Like it's on Circa. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then they have VEASAN, of course, and stuff like that on there. So yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I actually haven't even been to Vegas since pre-COVID, so I need to go. I've never actually seen Stadium Swim in person, so I need to make that happen.
You can ask George about it.
Right, I know George. Those guys went last year right after the draft. Now, and I actually had like a bachelor party or something, so I didn't go to Vegas with them. And now they're going to Cabo, and I'm like, man, I would much rather go to Vegas than Cabo.
Cabo is not. I don't know. Cabo's pretty nice. Cabo's nice because you can't get into the sport. You can't be gambling at 2 a.m. with all that horrible influences that all these guys are.
Right.
So, I don't know. Cabo, at least you won't lose as much money as you would in Vegas.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure. So I have a weak stomach, so I don't know. I don't have the best of times, I guess. Sometimes I got really sick in where was it? Like Playa del Carmen one time, like 10 years ago. I've just been like Not
so now
not
ever
to,
since you're
not
like,
willing to roll
no,
the dice,
Mexico,
I guess. Right?
no. What
No,
did
I just
you
like
eat?
stay in my home. I don't even know. That's the problem. I don't know. But I was like
Oh,
4 or 5 days. It was actually on like my honeymoon. We were in like Cancun or something.
No.
It was bad. It was really bad. It was like the last 5 days. And I actually have been to Mexico since then too. I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I was like, I don't know. That was a tough trip because I even had to fly back on it sicker than through the airport, and it was not a good situation. So
but now look at you guys.
Look at me now.
Strong,
Look at me
healthy
now.
marriage 10 years later. I mean, I think that's
10
what
years.
has to happen.
Right.
That's
So,
hilarious. That's
look
great.
at us now. So
Should we save the win totals?
Let's save the win totals. We'll save the win totals.
We're already way over, but I'm just letting you guys know. I'll end with this. The Seattle Mariners at plus 450 win the division. That's what I'm on.
There we go.
And that is a full bet from the heart. I'm just letting you. I am prefacing that, so when you come for me,
I'm on it too.
Exactly why. Thank God.
I'm on it too. I'll stand in the way if anybody comes for you as well.
Yeah,
so
no, don't. I put it out there on Twitter. I said, do not bet this if you do not believe it because
I'm a believer. I'm a believer.
A full bet from the heart. Awesome. Right. Well, thanks everyone so much for listening. Have a great Masters weekend. Have a great weekend in general, and we will talk to you guys next week.